So I'm here with Syme from Microsoft Research in Cambridge. Nice to have you here in Örebro.
Thank you very much. It's always wonderful to come to the Scandinavian countries, and yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here at TechDays in Sweden in 2011.
So you're a principal researcher in Microsoft Research. So you're not actually part of a product group?
So that's right, I'm at Microsoft Research, and I'm effectively part of a partnership between Microsoft Research and the developer division, what we would call the developer division, or server and tools, Visual Studio, in Redmond. And we have this partnership together to build the F# programming language. It's part of a history of a long partnership between our groups. Working on C# and working on .NET, on the Common Language Runtime and Visual Basic, on asynchronous programming, on generics, and C Omega, which was the precursor to Link. A lot of what you see in the languages, these sort of foundational elements of what we're all using to tackle the big industry problems, has come from these kind of industry research partnerships with Microsoft Research. We're very, very proud of what we've been able to contribute.
That's great. So you're one of the fathers of generics?
I worked on generics for .NET.
Thank you for that.
It's a pleasure. It's a long time ago now, but we always like to go back and think about how that partnership started. And but we have to look onto the new things for Microsoft and for the .NET development ecosystem, and for programming in general, and that's led us to do a lot of work on data, a lot of work on functional programming, a lot of work now on looking at how to integrate services and information into the programming environment as well. So lots of good things coming through in the pipeline.
And so that is also a lot of what you do with F# actually these days, because people used to see F# like just a functional language, but
right, that's right. There's a tendency to think what does the F stand for? F stands for functional, that sort of thing. Actually, when you look at what people do with F#, functional programming is one of the tools we give you to solve problems with F#. And it's also something we give you in C# in a different manifestation. Functional programming tends to be much more emphasized in F#. It's sort of a functional first kind of language, but it's only a tool. Functional programming is just a tool to help you tackle real problems. And the key problems we see people tackling with F# are algorithmic analysis of data and coordination of services and underlying, say, native components. And we see a lot of people applying F# in the finance industry, or in the oil and gas industry, or this sort of huge booming industry of web data analysis. So people are scraping hundreds of thousands of documents or tweets from Twitter or all other information, and using the elements we give you, which is functionally oriented, data oriented, a reduction of imperative programming, better compositionality, and better parallel programming. And now with Azure, sort of a cloud deployment of these components as well.
So it's not just about the actual algorithms and the number crunching itself, it's how you distribute it. And
it's absolutely, it's about processing feeds of information. So when you look at the elements that we have in F#, say the asynchronous programming, which is now also, everyone's very pleased to see that coming into C# and Visual Basic as well. And this is about saying, okay, we've got these elements to do algorithmic data processing in these languages. And we have to make sure that applies to the streaming kind of situations and the asynchronous situations, as well as it applies to the sort of more traditional, I'm going to run a function and sit back and wait until it completes. And so what I see in .NET more and more is we've got these wonderful foundations which add up to a problem-solving toolkit, which can solve a really extraordinary range of problems using the same conceptual kind of elements in your programming.
Great. So, and that's much what your talk here is about.
So my talk here is actually about something we're looking forward to in the future of F#. which fits very well with what I've described, which is, you'll notice when working in these strongly typed languages, the F-sharps and the C-sharps and Visual Basics, then the process of manipulating data and information is just beautiful once you have things under the type discipline of the language. Yeah. But there's always this impedance mismatch with the outside world, and we use all these sort of techniques to try and solve this problem. We use untyped techniques, you know, lots of strings or XML or objects, or we use lots of code generation techniques. You know, you hear people walking into their enterprises to work with the CRM system, and they talk about like code genning, you know, for everything in the enterprise. So they have to run code generation tool after code generation tool in order to give that sort of strongly typed view of the information context in which they're working in. So that's really where my mind very much is in the notion of an information context, and what does it mean to give immediate, fluent access to an information context in a strongly typed way. So you walk in, so you think of the information context of a phone. The information context of the phone is the web. Okay, so we want fluent, strongly typed access to those hundreds and thousands of web services on the web. Of course, we need some sort of schematization and so on. There's all sorts of other issues that come in, but we really want that kind of, as you program in a context, you get fluent access to the information in that context. If that's an enterprise context, then you're also there with the information in your enterprise. If that's a cloud context, then you're a combination of the web and the data storage in the cloud. If you're working in a database kind of context, you can see how it flows through to different information contexts. And we really want this merging of information and language in a very fluent way.
Great, that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna watch your session.
Okay, great. Yes, please come along.
Okay, so again, thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here. It's always a pleasure to come.